Hey. Yep, looks like we're live.
Perfect.
Sweet. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm live with Rebecca, um, and today we're just gonna be hanging out. It's gonna be really informal. You guys can ask questions or I don't know, comments. Just hang out and just like have a fun conversation or whatever. But hey, Rebecca, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Do I need to give a brief introduction? Should I wait a bit or
I mean, like we can.
just go ahead and do it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Rebecca. I studied cybersecurity, got a job in cybersecurity, was not crazy about it, and I'm currently finding my place in the entire world of tech. But during the process of being here and being online, I met Day. So excited to be here today and answer some questions.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. This has been like a long time coming. Like we've been trying to plan something to do like on either of our channels, but just never got like I guess like the right opportunity or just the time. But it's definitely great that we're getting to do this now. And yeah, so definitely good to have you here. I'm pretty sure like some of my subscribers are most likely like subscribed to you because like it's a pretty small space and like everybody
Yeah.
knows everybody. So yeah. So, but if you're meeting Rebecca for the first time, that's Rebecca for you. So,
Yeah, I do. I'm trying to think. I do a few other things. I don't want to assume people know Cyber Collective, but I also work with an organization called Cyber Collective. We do security and privacy advocacy. Sorry, I saw a question pop up. So when I wasn't working a corporate job, I was just an information security analyst. And with Cyber Collective, I basically do security awareness. And at my corporate job, I also did security awareness. But I recently started moving more into web development and like UX engineering.
mhm.
And funny enough, right before we went live, Day and I were talking about doing UX engineering or web development in a cybersecurity setting and for security tools. So it's always fun to see how, even if you move to a different space, it's still technically in the cyber sphere.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we were talking about like how it's like there's so many things you can do with cybersecurity that are like just beyond like the hacking stuff or like the technical stuff. Like
Yeah.
specifically me working at Datadog like opened my eyes to so many possibilities of like what you could do for in cybersecurity, especially working on a cybersecurity product. So like there's like the product management, there's like people who work on like the back end of the product, there's the people who do the product design, there's the front end design, there's so many things that you could do in cybersecurity, and like you don't necessarily have to be doing like the hacking stuff. There's like other things that apply to the cybersecurity field that are still considered working in cybersecurity. So the possibilities are really endless.
What job did you just mention? Yeah, government governance, risk, and compliance. I was technically in governance, risk, and compliance, and in the nicest way possible, it like sucked the creativity like out of me. It was a little rough, but if you're
Yeah.
into doing that type of work, it's an amazing place to be. Oh,
Yeah.
which was it? So a security advocate. That's what it was. That's another really cool role that they recently mentioned. I did know that was a job that you can have.
Yeah, like there's like advocacy like in the tech space, and I don't really know the depth of what advocacy is and what it really like. I have a high level understanding of like what security advocacy is or what advocacy can
Yeah.
be in like the in relation to like whatever space you're working in. But I think it's definitely a really unique role because it combines like both the technical aspect of that field and the community aspect of it, which is like
Mm-hmm.
you know, which is something that when you fuse together, like a lot can come out of it. Especially like given that you're already a content creator and you already have like the technical experience working in cybersecurity previously, like it's definitely something that you can fuse together. Being like someone who is uh, who's who is in tune with the community and also has like the technical cybersecurity skills.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can definitely like go deeper into like your experience, like just getting started in cybersecurity. I know like you have made a ton of videos on your channel about like how you got into cybersecurity, like through college and everything. But if you wouldn't mind like re-highlighting your story about getting into cybersecurity from like college and like your experience, your internships, and also like how you get your internships. I think you also have a really unique story about like how the internship worked out and how networking and
Yeah,
everything worked out. So if you can give us like a rundown of that, and
brief rundown.
you don't have to be quick on it. You can
Okay,
elaborate
take
as
time.
much. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Also, hi to everybody that's joining. I see all the comments popping up. So in high school, I learned HTML, and I very quickly fell in love with programming and coding. And when college came around, I think cybersecurity, I mean, I know in general it's still like a newer field, but it definitely wasn't something that tons of people were doing. And I was like, okay, like this sounds cool. The first 2 years of college, I think like anybody will tell you, you're not doing anything in your field. It is all basics
Very
and
true.
prerequisites. So up until like my third year, I didn't really get to do a ton of cybersecurity work, but once I did, it was a lot of fun. I really
Mhm.
enjoyed the coursework. I enjoyed all of the labs. I think it's interesting to understand how our technology works. So that was a really fun thing for me to go through. And trying to think how I got my first one. I went to a career fair for the company that I interned with, I believe, and ended up networking with a product manager. I'm trying to think if it was project or product, but I think it was product manager.
Right. Mhm.
And so when we connected, I ended up reaching out to her again. I went through the interview process. I remember that was 2 interviews. And after that, I got an internship as a project manager. So that was my first time in like experiencing tech in like a real work setting and getting to practice agile and seeing how
Right.
software development teams work and all of that. Um, so I had another year of college, applied for another internship because I realized that I really wanted to be in cybersecurity. So I tracked down the manager because I wanted to stay at the same company. I found the manager because I found a cybersecurity intern. I messaged him, asked him, who is your manager? How can I get in contact with who hired you? And I basically like snuck my way into a cybersecurity internship that way. So I think if that's any encouragement, even if you don't get a cybersecurity internship the first time, definitely reach out to the people that are doing that work at your company because they're more likely to
Mhm.
hire you if they already have experience with you. And that's basically what happened with me. Full transparency, I had an interview, but it honestly didn't really matter because they had already made their mind up that they wanted to go with me since I had already been with the company. But after that, got a full-time job as an information security analyst. Again, once it wasn't what I expected, which I think is also just like a really real life lesson. Like it's not always dream job first time around,
Yeah.
but the job I ended up getting was actually in GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. So I
Mhm.
was working on building information security standards.
Right.
Sounds a little dry. I'm sure you can tell by the way I'm talking about it. It wasn't the most exciting work. During my internship, I did tons of coding. So that's why it was really confusing for me to get offered a job and then it like switched up like that. It's like, actually, you're doing policy now. And I was
Yeah.
like, that is not what I wanted to do. So I did that for 6 months. Again, I did yeah. Sorry, I see the comment. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not okay. But they told me to. They're like, yeah, like if you're not happy with your role, normally you just need to be in your job for 1 year and then you
Ooh,
can. I know. Yeah, I was like, it's
that's a
not worth
long
it.
time.
It's not
Yeah.
it's really not worth it. It's not that serious. So I was able to after that job just basically like quit and then transition into freelancing.
Mhm.
um, Skipped a little bit throughout that story. I have been freelancing basically the entire time that I was in college. I worked with an influencer. I did her video content. I did photo content. Worked for a bunch of her companies, and then I worked at Apple for 2 years. That's something else I did in college. So I definitely got a lot of experience and a lot of like networking through that job. So again, if you have a job, every opportunity isn't every single time you meet a person, it could be somebody that can help you, not in an opportunistic way, but just know that like people are, it can happen anywhere. You don't have to be at a specific tech company to network with people in your field.
Yeah, that's definitely a very interesting like path into getting into cybersecurity, and it's always really interesting hearing people's journeys like about how they got into the field and like their experience in the field, and like it's definitely I can definitely imagine like how it could be like demoralizing to like go from like a technical position into one that is not as technical or not technical at all, given that especially like you being a technical person and enjoying like what you were doing in the internship. Because I remember like watching your videos on like what you were doing in your internship, like how you were working with like tools like the elk stack, like with
I was in it. I was
yeah. Like you were living that life, like you were like really like into what you were doing, and then making like that change into something else. But like you said, like the opportunity, like there's a lot of networking uh opportunities in everything throughout the journey, and I think that's another thing that's really important. Even though the networking opportunities might not necessarily have translated into like working in cybersecurity, they definitely helped with like when you wanted to get into your freelancing, and that's like something that
yeah.
a lot of people like really emphasize in the field. Like networking is really really important, like regardless of like whatever value it's gonna yield for you like in the future.
Yeah, I remember, I think actually on one of our posts, because we did ask for questions on the community post and on Instagram, but
Yeah.
somebody asked, is our certifications the only thing you need to break into cybersecurity? And I would say like that's probably, I mean, they're important, but it's probably like the least of your concern in a sense, because networking will get you much further than a certification will.
Yeah.
If you can get in with the right person, that's going to help you much more, in my opinion.
That is very true. Like, so we have so Tech Chatter is on the live, right? And he's my mentor actually, and
So
we
fun.
yeah, like I met him like 2 years ago, I think, through YouTube, and then I found him on LinkedIn. I connected with him on LinkedIn, and we connected. So like in a way that was networking, right? So we connected, started like talking
Yeah.
and everything, and a year later after that, right? And so I was able to get like my first job through him, just like advising me and like mentoring me and everything. Of course, I was building my skills and everything, but I got my first internship and then got a second job afterwards where it was my first full-time job. I was working at the SOC, and it was great. I was getting a lot of experience, right? Because it was my first full-time job, and I was working with a bunch of really really smart people and people that I'm still really friends with right now. But I wasn't fully enjoying it as much, and I've never really talked about this. But I was really really looking for a way out. I wanted to get something
Yeah.
else. And he knew everything like through my journey and everything, and like he knew like there was like they were gonna be hiring for a threat analyst role like pretty soon or whatever, and he referred me for the position, and I eventually got the position. But of course I had to do the interview and everything, but he could only refer me because he knew like my passion, my skills, my dedication, right? Because if I didn't have those skills, the experience, dedication, of course I had a couple of certifications here and there, but if I didn't have like those things, then like even though he's in a place where he could like maybe say refer me or whatever, like those things would not really work together. But networking with him and him also knowing like my skills, my experience, my passion, everything made it a lot easier for him to like say, oh, I know this guy, like he's really good, and we can hire him, and eventually like got interviewed and everything, everything worked out. So it's and that's like just one part of my story. Like I've gotten multiple like interview opportunities that have led to job offers that might have taken through networking, and also got my job at Datadog through networking. So like it's so powerful, like what networking can do, and like if you can leverage it, like there's so many things that can come out of it.
Yeah, even now, I now do freelance web development, and most of my clients come from Instagram and me making reels and people finding me through social media, which is its own version of networking, but it's kind of crazy. Like, definitely don't downplay the power of the internet. You never know who
Absolutely
you're
not.
going to meet. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Like I met my current manager on Twitter. like was it last year I met him on Twitter, and that's like how we got to know each other, and eventually how I got referred to for Datadog. But like Twitter is like the most unlikely place that I would like I would have thought to meet someone who I would network with and eventually like potentially like refer me for positions. So like it's really amazing like what networking can do. It can get you into places like your certifications and uh, you know other things might not be able to get you into.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of comments here. So Nicholas B. Code says, don't have the resources to go back to school, but I bought the CompTIA Security program and network and CompTIA A+. So I'm assuming he has the Security Plus network, which is an A+ program. Studying Splunk and cloud. Realistically, what can I do to stand out without a degree? So I personally, I'll answer the question, and you can also give your input on this, Rebecca. I think that if you're looking to stand out, it has to be more than your degree and your certifications, right? Your passion, your drive, then also like projects. And before I go into projects, we just talked about networking, of course. So like making sure you're networking, right? You're connecting with people on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever it is, right? And just like on those platforms, sharing what you're working on. So projects are really the big thing, especially when you want to get into like the tech industry. Like projects are really important. So I definitely recommend like working on some really very some projects in regards to wherever it is you want to get into, because I'm not exactly sure what you want to get into, but regardless of what it is, like cybersecurity, cloud, whatever it is, definitely like build projects, build a blog, and share what you're learning on like those platforms, and connect with people that could potentially eventually vouch for your skills and your knowledge, because they know what you're doing. But what do you think, Rebecca?
Yeah, I guess I personally never even went as far as like getting specific certifications in the field, because I ended up making a switch to web development, and they have their own entire thing of the certifications I have to worry about now. So for me, it just again comes down to networking. You really can do a lot with just like reaching out to people and asking them like, can I schedule an hour-long call with you and ask you some questions about your field? Even that, if you do that at a company that you're trying to get into, like talk to the people that actually work there, sometimes that can help. Maybe you can get a referral out of it. Yeah, and then I mean, you said it too, but projects are huge. Even in the space that I'm in now, everybody wants to see a portfolio, which I understand that's a different type of work, but having projects and then also finding a way to display them nicely, I think is a really great way to.
That is very true. I have talked about the concept of like how software engineering and like how cybersecurity has to take some clues from software engineering, because like in software engineering or like computer science related fields, like students are usually encouraged to have a portfolio like that has like their projects, like whatever apps they're developing or like whatever website they've done, and like that is like a really good consolidation of like their skills, their knowledge, and like what they've worked on. I think cybersecurity students need to like take more clues from that, make their own projects, make their own website where they're displaying what you're doing, like certifications or like labs or whatever it is they're doing, that is really really nicely displayed and shows what they've done and what they have knowledge of.
Yeah. And even, I mean, if you enjoy making content and you are a creative person, I think, I mean, for Day, like your YouTube channel is your portfolio. Like, I think you can see everything that you've done and everything that you've worked on. So that's like another avenue you can go if you want to create it that way. But obviously a website works great too.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So, hey, what's up, everyone? Okay, we have a question from the arts. Hey, why are you pursuing a bachelor degree if you're ready to pursue your love? I get the question. I get this question a lot. It's like, and like, I myself like ask myself this question sometimes, because like people think it's like it's a little counterintuitive, right? Given that I've been working in cybersecurity for like 2 years. It's gonna be 2 years like next month or so. And I have the experience, I have the skills, I have certifications. I'm working in a job that doesn't really care about if I have a degree or not. So why am I still trying to get this bachelor's degree? The answer to the question is, first of all, like I one of my main goals is like I want to get a degree because number one, I'm still young and I still have the time to pursue it, right? I think personally, like if you're between the ages of like 17 and like 21, 22, like and you still have the time, you don't have like family responsibilities or like have a kid or anything. Like it's much easier for you to focus on multiple things and be able to like get those things done. So I still have the time and I don't have that high level of responsibility, so I can still knock it out. That's one reason. Another reason is I want to always check that box off, right? So if I'm applying for a position or I'm interviewing for a position and I'm contending against other candidates, there are usually requirements that companies usually have, and of course sometimes they don't ever care about your degree, but sometimes when push comes to shove, like there might be a specific criteria that is the reason why they're going to pick somebody over another person. And companies can be as petty to the point where they will pick someone with less experience but has a degree because that fits the requirement. And I'm not really scared of losing an opportunity because I don't have a degree, because I know my skills are always going to be on par with what the industry requires. But I don't want to ever be in a position that I could have gotten a degree, I could have gotten a job or an opportunity, but just because I never had a degree, I couldn't get it. So even as much as a degree wouldn't like benefit me right now, there's still so many things that are really important that it would do for me, like having it. Another thing is also I want to get into higher education at some point, like full time. I currently work as a tutor at a community college, but I want to get into maybe becoming a professor or adjunct professor. And there's usually a baseline requirement of having at least a bachelor's degree. Some require you have a master's degree, but some require at least a bachelor's degree. And if I have a bachelor's degree, that's always gonna, so I'm always gonna have it. So I'll always meet that requirement. And also, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's really why I want to get the degree. And also because if I ever decide to, maybe like when I'm 50 or whatever, that I want to go get more degrees or more advanced degrees like a master's or a PhD, I already have the bachelor's and I just have to work and get the next other degrees that are required. So that's really why I'm still trying to get the bachelor's degree. We have another question. So GPS says, it is wild how certifications make different impact dependent on the field. Seems like in security they help out more than in cloud. I definitely agree with that. Like in cybersecurity, there's a lot of emphasis placed on certifications, like various kind of certifications, and there's so many of them. And in cloud, in cloud it's really I guess I would say agnostic, because like all of the cloud providers have like their different certification and certification paths. So yeah, but definitely is
It seems
definitely.
like,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it seems like it's more like specific to the tool once you get into like cloud. I have no experience in cloud, so this is just what it looks like from the outside.
Yeah, it's like the vendor, like AWS or Azure
Yeah,
or
the vendor.
GCP. So like but like in cloud, I'm seeing like a lot more emphasis being placed on like projects. Just given that like in cloud you just have to know how to do stuff, and that's the same thing with cybersecurity. But I think the cloud industry has placed a lot more emphasis on like you really knowing how to do things like in the cloud, and that's one thing I really like about the cloud, because there's that emphasis, and I think a lot more emphasis has to be placed on that when it comes to cybersecurity too, which it already is. This is a good question for you and I. 27 Drink says, do you think being a content creator made it easier to network? I'll allow you to answer that one first.
Absolutely. I've gotten a lot of opportunities through YouTube and through Instagram specifically, even if it's just other people in my field that, maybe in the future, like we work together or they give me a recommendation to a company or something. It absolutely like impacted my life. I work with an organization called Cyber Collective, and I met all of those people because of Instagram and because I was actively making content. And had it not been for my YouTube channel, I don't think that I would have had that opportunity to be in their organization.
That's really
What about
cool.
you?
It's the same for me. Like it definitely makes it a lot more easier for people to network with me. I think because like people already kind of get a sense of your personality from your content.
Mhm.
It's like it in a way it breaks the ice because they feel like they've met you even though they've never really.
Yeah.
So it's like they feel a lot more empowered to like reach out to you, especially for opportunities and stuff like that. And it's always great, like being able to just meet people and opportunities coming out of those people, or even if it doesn't come out of people, like just making those
Making friends
friendships.
in the field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like we were just talking about when I went to New York a couple of weeks ago and I met GPS for the first time in person, and it was really great. We got to do content together and just hang out, and it was really really cool. And we met through YouTube pretty much. Like she's also a YouTube content creator, so like it's definitely made it a lot easier because, and also like connecting with other content creators, because it's like you have something in common that it's like you're both content creators, so you relate to so much that has to do with like content creation. So it's like definitely made it a lot easier for me to like network and like connect with people. I have another question from Jacobs Small. It says, "Hey Day, if someone gets to BTL1, how long until they can get their first suck job?" So I can't give you a precise answer about that. I could definitely tell you that the Blue Team Level 1 will get you ready for your first sub job. I'm very confident in that, but I can't tell you, especially how long until you can get your first sub job. I just think it's a matter of like, what your strategy is to getting your first sub job. So like, of course, making sure that as you're learning, you're sharing what you're learning online, and it goes back also networking, making sure like people know what you're capable of, what you're doing, and everything like that, and just just like making sure you have like the right strategy. Because like if you have the skills and you have the Blue Team Level 1, if you don't have the visibility, then no one really knows what you're capable of doing. And also the Blue Team Level 1, even though it's a really good certification and it's a practical certification, it doesn't have as much cloud as your CompTIA certifications and all of that. So making sure you have a way of showing those skills you've learned in the Blue Team Level 1, and regardless of if you don't have those other certifications, and regardless of if the Blue Team Level 1 is not as popular, you're able to still kind of show what you're capable of doing. It really all depends on your strategy. So I can't really tell you how long it will take, but I'm sure that what I can tell you is that you will be ready for your first job. I can tell you that for sure. Okay, we have persistent bake. It's about who you know, not who you know. Not what you know. I think that's what he was trying to say. Uh, Ricky Solis. Hi, I've been reading forums of people struggling to land a entry-level position as a SOC analyst one. This is kind of scaring me since I'm starting my bachelor's degree in cyber. I'm going to do project. Uh, I've also been applying for internships, but no luck. Hmm. So I guess I can use this question to ask you a question, Rebecca. So because like you kind of got into your career through college, so what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
like college education and cybersecurity and leveraging college to get like entry level positions or internships as a cybersecurity student?
So I definitely feel, for me personally, I didn't use all the resources that were available to me, like in from my university. And that's one thing that, like, looking back, I wish I would have done a little bit differently. I know you
Mhm.
said you're already applying for internships, so I'm sure you're looking and using those resources, but I would definitely see if your university offers any like special career assistance, because most of them do. I went to UTSA and they had a specific like career center you could go to, and they would connect you with companies. If you have like military in your family, if you're a military child, like look into that. There's a lot of benefits that come with that. Definitely, if any type of community that you fall into, I would also like try and see if there's anything specific like with your community and cybersecurity, whether that's on campus or some type of organization that helps students, because people want to help you while you're in college. Once you get out of college, you're competition. So
Yeah.
as much as you can take advantage of like anybody that's trying to help college students, would highly recommend. Um, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but for me, it really was just talking to the people that worked at the company that I wanted to be in, I would reach out to them on LinkedIn. I would follow up with them. With internships, there's normally like a really long waiting period. So even in that waiting period, like I have sent follow-up emails and be like, hey, like I know you're probably still deciding. Just wanted to let you know I'm really excited. Like, thank you for the opportunity. Definitely have to go above and beyond because I know it's competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said about people want to help you when you're in college. And I think college, especially if you're a college student, like there's a lot of resources that are specifically designed to help you, get into your desired field. Working in higher education now has just like made me see like how many resources are available to students and like how much students are not leveraging those resources. Like
Yeah.
the community college I tutor at, it's like there's so many resources that that are available. Like they have connections with so many communities, women in cybersecurity, the different like cybersecurity associations and everything. Like they're offering like cyber tutoring. Like I'm the first cybersecurity tutor for the college, so like they're offering that for free for specific students. Like if you are in this program, in a cybersecurity program, you can get tutoring for free. They're offering like to pay for certifications up to a certain amount. Like so many things like they're offering that nobody's like literally using at all. And also like connecting them with like companies and all of those things. And I think it's really important to like leverage all of the resources that your community, your college or your community college has to offer, because they're literally there to help you, like as much as they can, because they have those connections and you can leverage those connections, to land those opportunities or to get the training or whatever it is that you need to get your first internship or job, whatever the case may be.
And I feel like even if they don't have something that you're interested in, it's still good to just make the introduction so they have you in mind should something come up in the future.
It's definitely very true. Cyber Boundary says, I think hands-on projects and networking have been the advice I've heard from most. Yeah, that's what everybody. That's the consensus. If you want to,
because that's what matters the most. If you,
literally, it's like networking and just having the skills. Because if you have the skills and you're able to network with someone, then it just works together. Cyber also says, how would you go about documenting projects you do in the most effective way to display your understanding of whatever you do? That's a really good question. I think so. For example, I have blogs and videos, right? That I've used to document like my projects. So I'd say like if you like, blogs are a great way, right? A lot of people in our industry or in tech in general, we deal with a lot of blogs. Right? We read blogs a lot, so using blogs, having like very well descriptive screenshots of what you're doing and just just showing what you're doing in a very clear and expressive manner that shows your thought process is good when you're documenting your projects. Also, like if you're into like video content, it's another really great way to like diversify how you're documenting your project. Also, like putting it on your GitHub. Like just it doesn't have to be code. Like your project doesn't have to be like Python code or like C++ or whatever. It could be just like your screenshots of like your walkthrough of something you did or something you built, and you can host it on GitHub. So just making sure you're communicating your thought process in a very clear and effective manner, whatever the medium you're using, is what really matters. Use descriptive screenshots and very clear communication, whether it's on a blog or YouTube or wherever else you might host your projects on.
And again, I'm coming from like UX design perspective because I have to have a portfolio to apply for the jobs that I want. And really just like following the structure of like give an overview, have the problem that you're solving, show your process, and then like at the bottom, like solution, what you learned, even just like having that structure and just repeat that for every project that you do. I think that's like a super effective way to show what you're doing, show that you understand it, can summarize it, and then bonus points if you can say it without a bunch of technical jargon.
Absolutely. Take it small depends on how well you can market yourself in interviews. That is very true. I'm thinking another thing too is like it's great getting those interviews, but also having really good interviewing skills is also really important. Like being able to like sell yourself, sell your skills, sell like what you're working on in those interviews, like, and in the most like in not in a braggish way, but in a very compelling way, showing what you're able to do and also your passion is really important when you're interviewing. Like interviewers want to see that, especially like for internships. Like a lot of times they're not really looking for you to have the experience or have the certifications or anything. They just want to see that, oh, you've done a couple of like technical classes and you know a little bit about what you're talking about. And they just want to see that you have the passion for it, like, and you have the drive, and they'll pretty much teach you everything. That's the great thing about internships.
I saw something recently too, and this might maybe apply more for actual like jobs and not internships, but if you already know everything, the company knows that you're not going to stay there for a long time, and that's not going to benefit them. So if you don't know everything, sometimes it can be a good thing. If they're like willing to like let you learn, that's obviously a bonus, but then they know that you're probably going to be there for maybe like 2-4 years versus like you just need this on the resume so you can go to the next place. So it's not a bad thing if you don't know everything. Definitely keep that in mind. Like you don't have to know everything.
That is very true. And like for example, like I recently transitioned into cloud security, and I can't like when I was transitioning, like I can't tell you like I knew at least I can in comparison to when I was transitioning and now like my level of knowledge was like totally like far off. I was studying about cloud stuff, but what I knew before I got into Datadog is not as much as what I know now, and I still have a lot of things to learn about cloud security. So like they're not always looking for who knows everything, right? They definitely want to be able to like build your skills up, with how they do things in the company and stuff like that. So that could also be an advantage, and even not as an advantage, like in general, like people who like when you get into a company, like you don't always know like everything about the company, right? Like you go there and you learn stuff, especially except you're like a senior engineer or like a staff engineer that has like had like 10 or 20 years of experience. At the entry level, like they just want to see like you have some experience, you have passion, and you know what you're talking about, and that's usually what it is. Because when you get to the job, there's still a lot of things you have to learn. You have to learn how to use the tools. You have to learn maybe like a new suite or a new stack, or how communication is done in the company and all of that. So there's a lot to learn. But all that really matters is like, you have the basic skills, and you're teachable, and you have the passion for the job. So let's see. Nicholas says degrees are good to get past the HR and recruiting requirements. It's not important if you know your stuff, but it's helpful to get past the gatekeepers. That is very,
The
very
gatekeepers, that's funny. Yeah.
That is very true. It is very true. That's exactly what I said about me getting a degree. I don't want it to ever be an impediment to getting my job. So Judge Madakor has a great video for 5 projects for cybersecurity resume for anyone who needs ideas. Judge Madakor has a ton of great videos. I definitely recommend just like binge watching his channel, like literally binge watching his channel. Like he has a ton of really great cybersecurity advice. And like his advice is very, very practical because he goes like step by step into like, this is what you need to do. This is like literally everything like in a very, very planned out format. Like he really, really draws out and maps out plans on like how you can get cybersecurity, how you can leverage projects or certifications and all of those things, like how to interview. Like it's so many things like he has on his channel. So definitely recommend that you check out his channel.
Cool. Yeah, I just subscribed to him too. I've never heard of that creator.
Nah, he's really good. really great guy. Nicholas says, for cloud, it's always good to focus on the infrastructure and technology, then focus on security items around it for common scenarios, server deployments, firewalls, WAF, serverless. Yes, that's everything I've been telling everyone who wants to get into like cloud security. Like you have to understand like the architecture and infrastructure before you get into the security stuff, because you can't secure what you don't understand. Like I spent a lot of time studying for the AWS Solutions Architect. I could have taken it in a month or just spent a month on it, but it took me about 3 or 4 months because I was going, I guess, beyond the curriculum, because I really want to understand like cloud architecture, services, and all of those things. So definitely having an understanding of like infrastructure and architecture and technology is important, because that lets you know what you need to secure and how to secure it for sure. Kevin Lopez, I work help desk and I have the CompTIA Trifecta and Pentest Plus. If I get the Linux Plus and CYSA Plus, would that make me stand out more for a SOC analyst position? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think more certifications will make you stand for a SOC analyst position. If the company is looking for a CYC Plus certified person, it could potentially help, but I don't necessarily think, because everyone else who is applying for these jobs have the same certifications. So like I mean like everyone has like the entire CompTIA suite, right? A plus all the way to CYC Plus and everything else. And if you're counting on that to make you stand out, it probably is not going to help as much as you think it would be. It would. So I definitely would focus on just building my skills and, you know, getting that visibility and into everything. So, yep. Jacob Small says, "Great point of visibility." Thank you. You're very welcome. Do you wanna like take over like reading the questions and asking them?
Sure. Yeah, I can.
I was
Well,
Euro Trucker Telugu.
Yeah, from India, currently doing SOC Analyst training. Looking for some points or any tips about this. I've never been a SOC Analyst, so Dane, do you have any like
So
any top points?
yeah, so for SOC Analyst stuff, I have a ton of videos and like a whole playlist that covers everything you want to know like about working in security operations, which SOC Analyst role is like, you know, encompassed in that domain. So I'll drop a link to that playlist. It covers like everything from like training to certifications to the specific skills or projects and everything. So definitely recommend checking it out. I just dropped a link to it in the live, so definitely check it out. But high level overview, understand your fundamentals, understand networking fundamentals, security fundamentals, understand how Windows and Linux systems work. Because if you're working as a SOC analyst, you're most likely going to be securing an Active Directory environment. So understand how those work, understand, you know, basic security fundamentals, and you most likely would get that from the knowledge of the CompTIA A plus Network Plus and Security Plus. I don't necessarily recommend you take the A plus or Network Plus, just only Security Plus, because it's usually a fundamental requirements for most jobs. Then afterwards, I usually recommend the Blue Team Level 1 because it's not multiple choice. It's fully practical, very affordable, and you actually learn the skills that are required for you to get into a security operations position, and you will be ready to start your job on day one. So high level review of how to get into a SOC position.
Ricky Solis, we were talking about him earlier. He said, unfortunately, my bachelor's degree I'm getting is from a community college. That's a new program. So for them, the resources aren't all there. And he has been talking to his professor, but not getting the best help.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other places. Yeah.
Given that the program is fairly new, like, I mean, you might have to like, you know, you might have to look out of the program. So maybe like going for like cybersecurity conferences in your area, like or like what do you call them? Meetups, cybersecurity meetups in your area. Just getting to meet people. Just like let them know like you're a local student at your local community college. Tell them like your cybersecurity major, like what projects you're working on, and like, you know, just connecting with them. And then and I'd say like connecting with them and then social engineering your way into like asking if they have like open positions or if they're ever looking for cybersecurity interns. Like I wouldn't like immediately just be like, hey, I'm looking for a cybersecurity position. And like when you just meet someone, like I definitely like, you know, connect with them, you know, try to like have a conversation. And then somewhere in that conversation, just let them know like you're a student and you're looking for cybersecurity internships or cybersecurity positions. But that would be a way to kind of maybe, you know, get out of like the college, whatever it is, like the college is limiting, and looking into like what resources you have at your disposal in your community.
Yeah, conferences are a great idea. I did not think about that. I definitely have had a lot of friends that have gotten really cool opportunities just out of like attending a conference, because all of the big companies are normally there, even if you have to like drive to the closest big city in case you're not in a big city.
Yeah.
Jacob Small said, hey, Rebecca, as a web developer, what kind of projects are you working on and how do you stay sharp in the field? So I do freelance web development. So it does look a little bit different from what you would do at a traditional company. But I work on Shopify quite often. Squarespace has a developer mode that you can program on, and Webflow basically makes all of it like 8 times easier, so you don't have to code at all. But I work with a lot of small businesses. I can share my website later. You can see some of the companies I've worked for. I recently did a website for like a foot surgeon. I worked with a supplement company. I've worked with a therapist. I've done their website, and a lot of different like artists / influencers that like grew their platform and they're selling their art that way. So that is how I have been working in the field. And then I'm constantly learning. There's no end in sight, honestly, because there is so much. And I also have to understand that I'm never going to know everything, and you don't need to know everything. That's what teams are for. I am trying to see what my type of work would look like at a company, which is basically, again, being a UX engineer or a UX designer. I just made a video about this, but I'm taking the Google UX design course, and they actually have some scholarships for it. So you can actually take it for free in certain circumstances, but it's $40 a month, and they have a few different topics. There's one on help desk. There's one on UX design, data analytics. I can't remember the rest, but they have some really cool programs. So you can even audit a course from Google if you don't want to actually take it. You don't care about having the certification. You just want the information. You can fully just like have access to the information. So if that's something you're interested in, you can go there. I know some people like hate on the Udemy courses, but I take the Udemy courses. I
some time, like
so much.
Really
They have some really great stuff. Obviously, maybe don't like make that like your only source of education, like definitely diversify. But there's some really cool web development courses on there that have helped me a ton with like understanding everything better, just getting more in-depth knowledge about each language that I need to know. It's been interesting switching from cybersecurity to web development, like I said, because it's like a whole different world of things to watch out for. I think in cybersecurity, I was just like focused on certifications, and now I'm like, what do you guys need over here? Like, what are we doing? Like, what? But that's basically what I do. Constantly taking courses, and I mostly work with small businesses, so it's not like a typical like agile environment. Even though I try to like work in that structure, it's just me. I am the business, so it just depends on like what's going on.
That makes sense.
Tech Xavier said, what are some interview questions for cyber or UX that have caught you by surprise, and how did you handle them?
I guess have you had to do any interviews for UX?
I haven't done any for UX. I guess I would say kind of, just because every single time I'm pitching myself to a client, I am basically in an interview. It just looks a little bit different because I'm like selling myself directly. But the biggest thing that I have had just in my experience with that is just really like simplify the language. Like if you come in there like guns blazing with technical jargon and you can't like communicate that into like normal people language, like it's kind of hard, and it doesn't make you like an appealing candidate, in my opinion, because especially if you're working at a company, you have to talk to other people and you have to like translate this like technical language. Because if you're in the field, if you're in cyber, if you're in UX, this is normal and like everything makes sense, but not the people that you're working with aren't going to be that way. Yeah,
that makes sense. For interview questions that have caught me by surprise, so many of them. Like one of the recent ones was when I was interviewing for Datadog, and I had a interview specifically for product, because Datadog is a product company. We have a ton of products, so specifically interviewing for like having a product interview was definitely a different kind of interview. I've never done anything related to that, and it was very it was an interesting experience, and it was a lot of questions caught me by surprise. But to be honest, like I was like very transparent. I was like, I've never worked on the product side of cybersecurity, so I don't have as much experience, with some of these questions. And I'd never worked on the engineering side, so I couldn't. I was upfront with the fact that I don't have that much knowledge of those questions that I was getting asked. And for me, like when I get asked questions that catch me by surprise, well, I don't or I'm not familiar with, because when we interview, we prepare for like what we're going to be asked and stuff like that. I usually, if I don't know the answer, I typically, just I'm usually just like, I'm not fully confident about what I know about this topic, but I can definitely go and research more about this, or this is how I would do it differently, or this is how I would research about it. But I don't ever try to like, I try to answer the question intelligently, but I don't ever try to like feign knowledge of what I don't know, because you just end up
Yeah.
looking dumb.
They ask a question like more in depth afterwards. Like,
Yeah.
let's see. 27 Drink said, "Do you think it's easier to transition from software developer to cybersecurity than the other way around?" No, not really. I feel like they both have their challenges. I think I constantly see people in my DMs that are like, I do software development, like how? And I think it's just like understanding like they have their own entire world of like certifications and like things that are standard, and so does cybersecurity. So it like regardless if you're like switching either direction, like there's a learning curve for sure, and there's just like a lot you need to I don't want to say catch up on, but just a lot you need to learn in order to transition.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I have like, had those same questions from people who work in software development or software engineering or adjacent fields and are trying to transition to cybersecurity. And it's definitely like it's a whole different, new word for them, because like cybersecurity is not always all about coding. If you're gonna be coding, maybe like a little bit of scripting here and there, or if you're working on a product where you're doing like software development for the product or something different, maybe like you're developing like exploit code or whatever. But in general, cybersecurity encompasses a lot more, because now you have to learn about various like frameworks, various concepts, how systems work, how people like, break into systems, how to analyze logs. So there's so many things that are on each side. And if you're trying to transition from cybersecurity to software engineering or software development, now you have to start learning how like, different programming languages are. You have to learn like data structures and algorithm, and like just various things that are, as difficult on the other side. So I wouldn't say like, either transition is easy. It just really depends on like what you already know and what you need to know to transition into the other field.
Yeah, because I feel like being a software developer is one thing, but then being like a security engineer or like developing for security is like completely different goals, completely different like things to watch out for. So there's still a learning curve.
Yeah.
Nicholas says, "Is 2 months long enough to learn the fundamentals of security and pass a certification?" And then I don't have a Twitter, but I'm Rebecca J. Richard on Instagram, and I post there a ton. But
But Security Plus is 2 months long enough to learn fundamentals of Security Plus. Yeah, I mean, like the Security Plus, I'd say like 2 months is a okay time it's a okay timeline, to study and pass the exam. It's just really just like memorizing a bunch of concepts and security framework for security concepts, and then being able to understand how CompTIA does their questions and everything. But yeah, it's enough time. But to learn the fundamentals of security, it definitely takes a lot more time, because like if especially like with an exam like Security Plus, like you might not retain as much information as you need to in that 2 months, because you're mostly cramming stuff. But like over time, like you begin to really ingrain these fundamentals into you begin to really ingrain those fundamentals into your brain, and like you just become like normal stuff for you. But 2 months is enough to get a Security Plus, but I won't say is enough time to lock down, the fundamentals of cybersecurity, because there's so many things to learn.
and then Professor Black Ops, he said, I miss programming. That was my first love. I just like make way more money in security. I have thought about that too. I was really sad leaving my security job because I was like, damn. I know it's gonna be different, and I also understand that I don't think programming is a job that you can do long term, which I know that I don't know if that I don't want to say that as like a definite, but I definitely see how people get burnt out. Like it's some strenuous work. So it's also, I don't know, not a forever goal for me, but right now it's nice. Let's see what else. I feel like cybersecurity jobs love to see programming and scripting experience, which
Yeah,
again, yes, depending on what you're doing.
definitely agree.
Somebody said, "Hey Rebecca, have you found it more difficult trying to find a cyber job now than when you got your first cyber position?" Yes, just because I don't have like I personally never went after any of the certifications just because I like quickly realized that I don't think that that is the route that I want to take. Even if I do work in cybersecurity, I think I would probably work more so in security awareness or just more so the education side I find really fun. But yeah, I guess so. Especially because I went straight from an internship into a job. So that's like, if you can get into a company through an internship, y'all like do it. It's such a like leg up in the game. They will normally give you like more opportunities, like better pay, and like just a lot of different things if you come in through a internship. But I haven't applied to tons of jobs in security since then, but I definitely could see how it might be harder now since it just like looks like I have like a random bit of experience and then like didn't do anything else in security. Tech Xavier said, "How has content creation helped you in your career? I just started documenting my tech journey on YouTube, and personally, I feel more on task." You want to go first?
Yeah, it's definitely helped me a lot in the sense that, um, first of all, like I have a online diary of my journey. So like literally all of like every step of my progress up until now has been documented on YouTube, like from my very first certification up until like everything I've done up to this point. So for me, like it's really helped me just like documenting my journey. Um, and it could definitely seem like a task sometimes because like it's demanding. Like you have to like think of content, you have to make the video, edit the video. There's so much that goes into it, but it's fulfilling for me. And also like it's helped me because I've gained those connections. I've built the experience, and like I have a platform where I can continue sharing my journey and my experience. And for me it's helped me a lot in like altogether. So I think yeah, it has. So I think it really depends on like your perspective of it, depending on like how you feel about it and like what you get out of it. That would define how you feel about it. So personally, some days it might feel like a task, right? But for me it's like, but now I mean most days it feels more like I enjoy it, right? Because it's just like a pattern of things that I've just incorporated into my general life, and like I
Yeah.
just do it. So that's kind of how it is for me. What about you?
Hoping my career. I think similarly, I haven't been like as active, but even just like I have basically my entire like college journey documented on my YouTube channel, and I'm like continuing now with the switch. It's been fun to be like open and transparent about realizing that what a field that you thought was for you wasn't for you, and kind of like it's never too late to make a change. I definitely want to like preach that just in case anybody ever changes their mind. You can change their mind. It's okay, regardless of how much you've invested. I think it's like a sunk cost fallacy that you think that just because you've invested time into something that you should keep going. Like sometimes it's
Mhm.
better to stop and like reevaluate, like, is this actually for me? But we kind of mentioned it earlier. I've definitely met a really cool community of people because of Instagram and because of YouTube. Even just like the friends that I've got out of it, so I can like have somebody to like complain to or like confide in with all the things that come with content creation or that come in like being with tech or going through like finding your way in tech, because I think the journey is just so different for everybody. But one, I think it helps you just be a better communicator because you're breaking down information. I always thought about this with your videos, Dave, but I think that like I saw something, I can't think of the quote, but once you're able to explain information, like not only are you solidifying it for yourself, but
Yeah.
it just like shows that you really do understand it. So if somebody does end up looking up your YouTube channel and they can see you like thoroughly explaining a topic, that's like such a bonus. And that's a very unique thing to have, I think,
Yeah.
as somebody in tech, just because not everybody has a
I
YouTube
definitely
channel.
agree with that. I definitely agree that I for one, I don't consider myself a great communicator, but I have had to learn how to be a better communicator through YouTube because like if you can't communicate like what is in your head, in a very concise manner that's like hard for people to understand you. And that's another thing too. I was having this conversation with GPS when we met in New York about how not everyone in tech is able to actually communicate technical things in a way that everyone can understand it. Like it's an actual
Yeah.
skill. A lot of people who are technical, like they just know the technical stuff. Like they can code, they can write an algorithm or a machine learning like model that can do whatever in this world, but like they can't properly communicate that to other people or teach those things to other people. And if you're someone who has the skills of having those technical skills and being able to communicate them, then like it's in a way it's like a superpower, because like not everyone has that ability, and it's a ability that you have to learn and grow and like over time improve it. Because like I said, I wasn't really a great communicator. I'm not one yet, but like I've had to get better over time.
Next question is, I'm looking for an entry-level security job. Is there really an entry-level security job? Which is really funny because yes, I feel the pain in that sentence, because it seems like entry-level jobs like don't exist sometimes. I recently learned about apprenticeships. So I would recommend also looking into that if you are looking into entry-level jobs. There's actually a lot of companies that have tech apprenticeships, and that's another cool way. If you miss the like internship window, try getting an apprenticeship, because that's another cool way to get into a company. And they don't need you to know everything. You're there to learn with them.
Yeah. I was actually having this conversation with someone today. By the way, thanks for the $2 future black seg. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. He's also a YouTube creator. He's a Script Kitty Hub, so definitely check him out. We were filming a video today, and he was talking about we were talking about like if anything as a cybersecurity, if there's anything as an entry level cybersecurity job, and I was like it. I think there is, because I got into cybersecurity as an entry level person. Like when I got my internship, I was doing entry level stuff. Like I was, first of all, like my first month or two, I was just like analyzing phishing emails, which it's a very important task, but it is very entry level. Like all you have to do is grab the ticket, open the email, analyze the headers, look for any possible thing that might show a sign of phishing, right? It's a very, very simple task, but you spend a lot of time just looking at that email header and looking for different things that might indicate that somebody might have spoofed this. And for me, like those 2 months, matter of fact, those 7 months I spent doing that, like it was a very, very good experience, because I spent a lot of time analyzing stuff and just being patient and looking at things that might just not make sense sometimes. So I think there are definitely entry level security jobs. It just really depends on the organization. And I think that's another issue with entry level in cybersecurity. Some organizations don't have the capability to bring in entry level people because, number one, they're understaffed, because they don't have maybe the right amount of like technical professionals. Because in a security group, you want to make sure you have like people who are like the higher seniority level, like director or manager, people who are like maybe senior engineers that have a lot more skills and experience, and then mid-level people who are just learning stuff and can easily like pass things off to the engineers or do like mundane tasks that the senior engineers don't want to do. And then you have like the very entry-level people who are going to be mentored by everyone else. So in organizations where they don't have that structure and the staffing to be able to have enough time and distribution to train entry-level people, and it's harder for them to actually create entry-level security jobs, because everyone they want to hire has to have many years of experience, like 2 or 3 years, because they don't have the time to like bring someone who doesn't have any experience to get on the job. They want someone who can start a job and just immediately get started. But if an organization has a really, really well laid out structure where they have mundane tasks that someone who is not as skilled can do, and they have the staff and the time to teach that person, then you can definitely create an entry level job out of whatever it is in your security team, and then have your more senior engineers working on more complex stacks, while your junior engineers or your junior analysts who are just coming in, can spend their time doing those mundane things, but are getting a lot of experience. So for me, it was analyzing phishing emails and doing a bunch of other tasks that other people don't want to do. So it really depends on like the organization, but I think there are entry level cybersecurity jobs, and they're out there. You just have to be able to find them.
Yeah, and it might just not be the dream company when you're starting off. Definitely keep that in mind. I think that there's like, I have a friend and she called it like tech propaganda. Like everybody that you like think everybody's has $100,000 salary. You think everybody is working at big tech. Like there's small businesses that like need your services. So like you
Yeah,
don't have to work at Google or like one of the Fang. I guess it's different now. Like it's like
man.
Meta. I don't know what it is though. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely agree. Like I feel like your first job will most likely not be like the best job. Like I like it's not gonna be. It might not be glamorous. Like you're probably not
Yeah.
gonna be like doing like the very cool things that you would have love to do. But that first job where maybe you're not earning. Like I was earning like my first cybersecurity internship. And I've never mentioned anything about like my compensation, but my first cybersecurity internship I was earning like $15 an hour, and like I mean that's pretty decent, but like in comparison to like other cybersecurity internships, like that's like half of what like other interns are earning. But like it didn't matter to me because I didn't have the experience,
Yeah.
but somebody like took a chance on me, and like $15 an hour was way more than I've ever earned before. So like I couldn't even complain. So it was definitely like good experience, and ever since then, like in 2 years, I've been able to like you know like multiply that multiple times. So like it's definitely like those entry level jobs are definitely important. So spend your time in them and learn those skills, and when you feel like you're ready, go for the next opportunity.
You have to do one of those, how much I spend in a week as a
Man, I people have been asking me to do like videos on like how much I've made or how much I make in
You
cybersecurity.
should. You should.
I
Like
I,
salary transparency is so important because so people know what to expect, and so they're not getting played. So they're
I
not.
do, I do agree. I'm a very big proponent for like salary transparency, but I just don't think I'm ready. I definitely
Oh
want
yeah,
to.
I'm definitely yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to, and I definitely will eventually, but I'm just not ready to do it like right now. But I eventually will.
That's
Just not.
fair.
It's just not the right time.
Let's see. And just really quick, Black Ops. Oh, read it backwards. Professor Black Ops said that he has PTSD from being on call in production and programming, which is I could see
Oh,
that. Yeah, I could. I would be. I that
yeah.
sounds awful. Like I couldn't imagine getting called at 3 a.m. and they're like the code's broken. Like the code.
Yo,
I
yeah,
would cry.
that's
I would cry.
yeah.
Okay, Jacob Small said, "Hey Day, I know you mentioned this on your channel, but what is some advice for those looking to get into infosec but want to avoid burnout?" I'm seeing this topic, or I'm seeing these topic points on Reddit. That was
Mm,
another thing I thought that would be a fun live, just like talking about the mental health aspect. Like you can't, you have to
yes.
take breaks. So you,
Yes, it's really important. Like I spent the last 2 years, last year and a half, like hustling. Like
you've
I
been
could I
working.
could
You've been,
like I could call myself a hustler for the last 2 years because like there's working and there's hustling. So and I definitely have gotten burnt out like multiple times. Definitely neglected like my mental health multiple times. And I to be honest, and this might be a little negative, but I don't regret it because like it definitely yielded benefits. But I could have
yeah,
done things differently. Like I could have I could have done things differently in the sense that I could have utilized a different strategy to how I was going about things, and that would maybe include being smarter about managing my time and just knowing when to take breaks because if your mental health is not in the right state of mind, then it affects everything else. Like no
yeah,
matter how much energy you have to study on like in a single day, like if your mental health is not right, like your study is not going to work out. Like you're just going to spend that time like just staring at your book or like whatever turn you're doing, and you're not really assimilating any information. So I think it's important to you know work hard enough but also work smart. Like use hard work to channel your smart work, given in the sense that you don't have to like spend like excessive amount of time studying or going long stretch of like studying periods without taking breaks. Like plan out how you want to study, plan out what you want to study, and focus your energy on what's really important. Because I know that at the entry level stage of cybersecurity, or when you're just trying to get in, there's a lot of like you can easily get it's easy to kind of spread your energy across so many things at the same time. Like you want to of course you want to like learn this, learn that, learn various concepts. You want to make content, you want to make like a blog, you want to post on social media and all of those things. Like you can easily spread your effort across so many things, but I think prioritizing was really important, and just like focusing on those specific things is going to be important. And also now what I've been doing is prioritizing my task or my goals in sprints, and like 3-4 month sprints, which is basically each quarter. So in each quarter I focus on specific things I want to achieve, I want to do in regards to my job, or in regards to cybersecurity, and I specifically focus on those things and nothing else, making sure that I'm not adding any extra workload into what I'm doing, so that I have enough time and enough energy to focus on those things. But at the same time, I'm making sure I'm well rested, right? I'm not like pulling all nighters too frequently. I'm eating well, exercising, going to the gym, going outside when I need to, having like social interaction more. Like all of those things really compound, and like over time, it's way better than like just going crazy with it, and getting yourself burnt out, because if you're burnt out, like you can't really do anything, to be honest.
I saw something too yesterday that was like your direction is much more important than your speed. So just as long as you're headed in the right direction, like you're doing good.
It's definitely true, because like there's a lot of like we have a lot of really smart people in our field, and it's very easy to like compare yourself with people like, ooh, I got my first job after
Yeah.
6 months. I got my first job like I got the OSCP. I got the OSCP in like two months. Like there's so many things. There's so many people who are like achieving a lot of things, and it's like easy to like try to compare yourself and your timeline to their timeline. And it's like everybody's journey is different. Like you said, like you're going in the right direction is a lot more than the speed. So like as long as you're spending your time like focusing on the right things, prioritizing things properly, then that's all that matters. Like you don't try to compare yourself to other people, because you don't sometimes you don't even really know their journey, like amount of time or effort or energy they've put into their work to eventually get to where they are. So that's another thing I wanted to point out too.
Yeah, I mean, basically what you just said, but I think like you took a break from social media while you were doing all of that. Like you like fully deleted Instagram, which I think is like I know you did it so you could focus more, but I think it's also just like, it's so easy to compare yourself and other people's journey. Like you just said, honestly, even LinkedIn sometimes is like depressing. So I'm like, it looks like everybody's getting like promotions and jobs except me or something. But so also just like be mindful of the content that you're consuming. If it's not helping you, or if like following a tech influencer that's like constantly doing something new isn't benefiting you, like unfollow them. You can always look them up and check up on them. Maybe they don't, need to like be force fed their content of them being successful like 24/7. So yeah.
That's definitely good advice. Like that's part of the reasons why I quit social media. Like I said it in my video. I was like, I was constantly like comparing myself to people. And like I never like when you're comparing yourself to people, like you never even think about like how much you've achieved like yourself, because like you're trying to put yourself in their shoes, but like you don't even think about how much you've been able to accomplish yourself, like, and give yourself like that pat on the back for
yeah,
exactly. So definitely like if you need to like I personally think that like sometimes like I think that's like deleting social media is like it could transform your life. Like I did it for 6 months. I think like I needed it, and I'm probably gonna do it again. But like if you have the ability to, like, you don't have like maybe like specific like relationships or contacts you have to keep up with on social media, like literally just delete your accounts for like 6 months and like just see what
put your head down and see what happens. Like,
no, literally, like I'm telling you, like it would change your life. It would literally change your life.
Tanvir, I think I'm saying that correctly. So the amount of people I've met in cybersecurity that sound like an audible dictionary is insane. No offense. Yeah, it's okay if you're one of those people that can't translate it, but just like work on it. Just like keep note of it.
Yeah,
it's something to work on for sure.
Definitely.
27 Drink said that story of you deleting everyone's email containing real gift cards is always on my mind. I remember you posting about that.
Yeah, that was my internship. Like I was the Grinch of Christmas that year. I I was not analyzing what I thought was a phishing email, and like I literally deleted all like everyone's gift cards for
So get this
Christmas.
out.
Like I did everything, but thankfully, like we were able to like remediate it, but it was bad.
It says, hey Day, can you give a career path? So basically, how you went from SOC to cloud.
Oh yeah, people be asking me to do a video. I'll probably do a video soon, but so high level review. I started freshman year of college in 2019. Got my first internship in summer of 2020. Worked at the internship from September till March of 2021. Afterwards, I got my first full time job at a MSSP. Worked there for like 3 or 4 months, and then got my first. Then got a job after that as a threat analyst. Worked as the threat analyst for like 4 months. Got promoted to threat analyst two. Wait, no. I worked as a threat analyst for 4 months. Got promoted to threat analyst two. Worked there for another 4 or 5 months. Started interviewing for Datadog in January of this year, and got my Datadog offer to start in March. So high level overview of everything 2019 to 2022.
It's Cali Crypto. Said I currently have an associate's in information systems, currently studying for my Security Plus. What would be a doable job for a entry-level? Sorry, would that be doable for an entry-level cybersecurity job?
Yeah, like
reading ad.
Yeah, I think like even as an associate or a Security Plus is like it's like it yeah, like some people. So for perspective, some people get cybersecurity jobs without degrees or certifications. Having an associate's degree is definitely good. Having a Security Plus is definitely good. So it's definitely enough. Definitely, but you definitely want to have those technical skills. So definitely want to work on building like your technical skills in terms of like using security tools, or it also depends on like what entry level cybersecurity job you're looking for, right? There are various areas of cybersecurity. So what part of cybersecurity are you trying to get into, right? Working on those skills and building those skills that are required for that job is what I would spend my energy on after you after you get your Security Plus, of course.
D&D. I finished my BSNOS. I don't know what that stands for. Do you know?
It's a Bachelor's of Network Operations and Security from WGU.
Okay. Yeah. What would you recommend to focus on to get my first cyber analyst job? Any projects, learning platforms like Rangeforce or HTV that you would recommend?
So congrats on finishing your degree. It's a very hard degree. What would you recommend to focus on to get my first cybersecurity analyst job? Any product learning platforms like Rangeforce? Okay, so for learning platforms, Let's Defend is a good one because it's you go through actual security investigations. So another one is Blue Team Labs Online. That's another really good one because you go through the security investigations that you'd probably be doing as a security analyst. Then training, definitely recommend Blue Team Level 1. I'm not getting paid or sponsored by them, but after taking the training certifications, like I just think it's the number one best thing that will get you ready for a security analyst job on day one. Definitely messing around with Hack the Box would be good for you. Just understanding like how attacker methodologies are, and also building a home lab. So like having a lab where you can practice those skills. So whatever you've learned from Hack the Box, like try it against your home lab, right? And look at the logs to see what is happening and combine all those skills together. I think that'd be really good. Like doing a project on like how you were able to analyze let's say like kernel roasting activity in your home lab. Like you set up an Active Directory environment in your home lab and you use Kali Linux to perform a kernel roast attack, and then looking at the logs in Splunk or Security Onion and analyzing what you're able to find in that. That's a really great project you can do, and similar things like that. So those are things that I'll recommend. Once again, Blue Team Labs Online for labs. Let's Defend for labs. playing around with Hack the Box and Try Hack Me to learn a couple of skills here and there. And then also, if you want to take a certification, definitely recommend the Blue Team Level 1. It's perfect for whatever you want to do as a security analyst. But also, don't underestimate the value of your bachelor's of network operation security degree. It's a really good degree. You must have learned a ton from it. So definitely adding all of those things together would put you in a really good spot.
Future Black Sec said, I want y'all to rate my future goals. I currently work as a junior system admin. I plan to do 1 year while studying for Linux, AWS, to move on to Linux system admin, spend 2 years on that, and then focus on cloud. That's all you do. That's all you do.
So currently work as a junior system admin. I plan to do 1 year while studying for Linux, AWS, to move into Linux system administration and focus on cloud. I mean, like if you're trying to get into cloud, then I think like I think it's a great idea. Those are good timelines, but I wouldn't necessarily overly restrict myself to those timelines. If you get an opportunity or opportunities that help you transition into cloud faster, then I'll definitely take them. I think Linux is definitely a really great skill to have, whether you're doing security or cloud, whatever it is. Like it's a universally acceptable skill, just like networking and like coding. So definitely being strong in Linux is going to help you across whatever you want to do. But I would say don't limit yourself to those specific timelines, except if you really want to stick to them. But I think that's if you're trying to get into cloud, like it's not bad at all. I think it would give you a really good understanding of like cloud administration and just like everything in that regard. So yeah, I don't think that's bad. It's a good idea. Those are good goals.
This one's pretty general, but currently doing my cybersecurity in uni. I'm guessing getting your degree. What's the best career path? That it just depends on what you enjoy doing. So it's really hard to answer that question.
That is true. I am biased because I work in cybersecurity and I work in the defense side of cybersecurity. So I think whatever you, like Rebecca said, whatever you enjoy doing, and you enjoy working on, I think that would give you the most satisfaction, would be the best career path. Like whatever you get the most satisfaction doing and pays you the best, like that would be the best career path I would take.
Yeah, and I would also say that degree, you can probably use it anywhere. Again, I'm literally freelancing with mine right now, and there's just a bunch of different places where you can use a cybersecurity degree. So
that's true.
Don't limit yourself. Definitely look at all the options, look at all the tech jobs, and just see how security fits into it.
Yep.
Kevin Lopez said, do you still take tests in the bathroom? Did you take tests in the bathroom? Was this a thing?
Yes, it was a thing. I used to take all of my my Pearson test for like all my CompTIA certifications in the bathroom, because like that was the best place I could take it. But so since I moved to this new apartment, I have only taken like hands-on certifications. I haven't taken any what's it called? Multiple choice certifications. So I haven't taken any tests in the bathroom yet. If I take another certification in the bathroom, you guys will know when I make the video. But I haven't taken any tests in the bathroom recently. Oh, looks like you're on mute.
I muted myself because I saw the comment about the bird. There's a bird outside that's like ruining my life right now. I don't know why it's whistling so loud. So if you hear that, that's me. Don't know what's going on. But next question was, what are some good standout projects to add to a portfolio?
What are some good standout projects to add to the portfolio? Cybersecurity Homelabs is one of them. People always ask about Cybersecurity Homelabs, so definitely recommend that. Then like if you have like knowledge of like scripting or programming, definitely making like a project like a port scanner or a like a keylogger, something like that. Grant has a ton of really good Python projects you can try your hands on. Definitely recommend checking them out. Then you can do like walkthroughs of like CTFs you've done. Also like if you build a cybersecurity home lab, like if you run like specific attacks in your home lab, like I was saying the other time, like do a cover roasting attack against like an Active Directory environment in your home lab, and go through how you did the attack and also how you investigate the attack and also how you will remediate the attack from being possible in that environment. Like that's a good project. So going through how an attacker will attack something, how the defender will investigate it, and how the engineer will remediate that problem. That's another good one. But yeah, there are tons of projects you can do. It just really depends on like what you're interested in. If you're like more of a offensive security person, doing walkthroughs of like hack the box, or try hack me boxes you're doing is gonna be really good. If you're on the defensive side, doing walkthrough of like maybe malware analysis, log analysis, all those things are gonna be important. If you're into like the engineering side, like infrastructure and architecture, building projects and like home labs and like stuff in the cloud is also going to be really good. So I would say just kind of look at what you're interested in and what you have some skills in, and just just do projects around those things.
I'm not sure if this is the same question again because I haven't looked in this space, but what resources are you using to improve your detection engineering skills?
Oh, okay. Because I work in detection engineering now, so for detection engineering skills, the number one resource I'm using to improve my skills is work. like like everything I do at work is like literally helping me build my skills. So I spend a lot of time just like in the different cloud environments, AWS, Azure, GCP, just like poking around, doing stuff that I shouldn't be doing, right? Which is what the attacker will be doing. And also just like looking at the logs and everything. But also, first of all, like understanding like the different cloud environments is what I started out with. For example, AWS, I spent a lot of time studying like AWS architecture, different services, and everything. So having an understanding of the environment, has helped me be a better detection engineer. Also, just spending a lot of time like testing out different attacks in the environment, looking at the different logs, what they look like, definitely has helped me. And just like spending a lot of time, consuming like blogs, videos, talks, right? Because like there isn't like that many like niche detection engineering content out there, but like watching videos on like from like Black Hat or DEF CON, those conferences, or just like generic videos on like how people are doing certain attacks or how they're detecting certain attacks has helped me just build my skills, get better, and just reading blogs as well. So it's a combination of various things, and just combining those things, and also like doing CTFs relating to cloud has also helped me be a better detection engineer. But the number one thing I'll say has helped me improve my skills is my job.
I feel that because that's why I kind of want to go to a company now. I love freelancing because of the flexibility. Like I don't have to ask for PTO, which I know some tech companies have unlimited PTO, but a lot of them don't. A lot of freedom, but then there's like nobody to learn from other than like the internet. And while the internet is a great resource, sometimes it's not the same as getting to work with professionals that are already doing it.
It's true.
Someone says, what's the best sector for people who have short bursts of creative energy and can't put up with the tedious, mundane tasks? And you sound a lot like me. It's exactly what went wrong for me. I'm a very creative person, and I was like going through logs, like wilting away. And I was like, okay, like maybe this isn't for me. Like, but so I also want to say there's a lot of different ways that you can work in cybersecurity. I know freelancing isn't like a super common thing, but that does exist. You can be like a consultant even in the space. You can be like you can do software sales for cybersecurity, and I think all of those jobs kind of like allow you to work in a different way that isn't like the tedious, mundane tasks of like reviewing logs or whatever it may be. Or you can go into web development like me and do UX design. That's a whole career switch. But I'd say that there's definitely like there's roles in cybersecurity that don't require, again, those mundane tasks.
Yeah, I mean, you can become like a cybersecurity like yeah, I think it's just something that is not as popular as well. So like a cybersecurity like lab developer, right? You have a creative idea of like how a lab should be, or like a specific scenario. You design a lab for it, and you work for a content platform. Excuse me, a content platform like TryHackMe, or like like a trading platform like Pluralsight, or all of those companies. Like they're always looking for people to develop labs. So if you have like that energy, just build your skills and like use that creative energy to design lab environments and work for those companies where you don't have to do like mundane tasks. Like you actually do what you like to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I know not everybody's into security awareness, but I honestly didn't realize how big of a like space security awareness is too. So that's another place where you can do more creative work, because you're trying to translate the cybersecurity tech, like in understanding and knowledge in a way that like normal people will understand. So you get to create a lot of content and games and just different ways to make it more engaging. So that's another fun thing you can do.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Darius Thorin said, I start my BSCSIA August 1st at WGU. I don't know what that stands for. What are your thoughts on Homelabs, cloud, AWS, VM, and then the physical machine utilizing RAM?
So the BSCSIA is the Bachelor's of Science in Cybersecurity and Information Assurance at WGU. Congrats on getting started. That's a really great program as well. WGU is always great in my opinion. What are your thoughts on Homelabs, cloud, AWS, VM? I think like they're all as valuable. I work in cloud security now, but I still have like VMware on my Windows PC. I have it in my MacBook. Like I still use virtual machines all the time because like there's some stuff I want to test out and stuff like that, and like AWS as well. But like the thing with like cloud or AWS or Azure is like it comes with cost as well. So like sometimes I use like my company's like sandbox environment, right, to like do stuff. I use my environment as well, but like it still comes with the cost of it. Thankfully I don't really have to pay much for AWS because I have like credits from conferences and also like being an AWS community builder. But you definitely have to factor in the cost when you're doing the cloud stuff. So like you can, but it doesn't necessarily have to always be expensive. Like deploying like vulnerable cloud environments like the like Cloud Goat or doing like CTS like the Floss challenge don't have any cost because like for example the Floss challenge doesn't even require that you use your own AWS account except in the very last part, which doesn't really cost that much money. But in the cloud, I except you're really building like a really large scale cloud cyber range, then you can get away with just doing what you need to do in like destroying those resources or tearing them down when you're done with them. But virtual machines are also really great. Like I still would do a bunch of things on my virtual machines that I have in on my PC and on my Mac. So it really depends on what you're looking to learn and like what skills you're looking to build or what you're trying to test or what you're trying to do. So it all really depends, right? So just take into consideration what you're trying to learn and what the best avenue for that is, either the cloud or using a virtual machine.
Manuel said, hey, thanks for the live. Questions on Elastic or Splunk for security. I currently use Elastic. The documentation is good, but hard to follow sometimes.
You have you've used the Elk stack before, so you might know a little bit about Elastic.
I used it for like 3 months. Yeah. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, but I can't say that I like went super deep into it. I did some automation in Splunk, but with Python, but I was more so automating than like doing any like documentation or anything. So I don't know if I'd be the most help there.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with Elastic on my with labs on Elastic, and I've worked with Splunk professionally. For Elastic, like I just think it boils down to like preference for security, right? A lot of companies use Elastic, a lot of companies use Splunk. I think Splunk is a lot more popular, but I think they actually have the same level of popularity. But like I wouldn't say like one is better than the other. I just think it depends on like your use case and like who is managing your security product. Because I think a lot of times people are like, oh, this product sucks or this product can do this, but they don't really put into account who deployed that product for them or who is managing that product, right? If you're not using the product to its full capacity, then it's definitely going to suck because you don't really know how to use the product. So I think it depends on like who is managing the product for you and like how much you know about the product. In terms of documentation, yeah, like I definitely agree. Sometimes documentation can be hard to follow sometimes, but you just kind of have to like sometimes figure stuff out. But I wouldn't say one is better than the other, right? I mean, and again, I work at Datadog and I work on the product, so like I could be biased as well. So yeah, I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It just really depends on the various circumstances.
Devin Cyber said, I'm interested in going to WGU, but I'm from Algeria. Is that a problem for time and schedule and being an international student? Do you know about international students in WGU?
Yeah, so I don't think they allow international students right now. I've definitely had people who said they couldn't get them because they were international students. But I would still confirm. I would definitely reach out to like an enrollment counselor on their website and find out and see if they have any accommodations. So definitely would make sure to confirm. Either way, if they allow, definitely a good option. Definitely recommend them.
What are the most essential certs for a pen tester job? The pen testing certification.
Yeah. For pen testing, like the unicorn one everyone talks about is the OSCP. That's like the one that everyone wants to see and like what companies consider like the gold standard. But over time, over time there has been like there have been new training providers and everything like that, like like the TCM Security, Inland Security, all of them. They're coming up with new training. So PNPT is another great one by CCM Security. The EJPT and the ECPPT, all of those ones. I'm not a pen tester. I have never worked in offensive security, so that full disclosure there. But from people who have interacted with who work in offensive security and people in the community in general, companies are typically usually looking for the OSCP, but it's not like people don't necessarily consider it the best certification, but it's the most sought after. There are other certifications you can get, like the PNPT, which people consider to be a lot more realistic. EJPT is a lot more entry level, and then Elite Security has the ECPPT as well as some more advanced ones that you can definitely check out. So I think it all depends on like what you can afford, because all those certifications are very expensive. Like I'm talking about thousands of dollars. So
I'm like, get in a company and get them to pay for it.
that's a good option as well. So like I would definitely like weigh my options and decide on what's best for me at whatever point I'm in right now. Yeah, it really depends on like what you can afford, what's best for you. But I think personally, because I plan on taking the PNPT later this year. So I think it's a good certification to start out with because it's very affordable and it provides you the training and everything you need to pass the certification. So, but that's just take that with a grain of salt. I definitely would do more research or ask an actual pen tester.
The next person is asking, how do I get into cybersecurity if I don't have any certifications?
I think we already covered it.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah, we already covered this like earlier in the live. So I definitely would just like scroll back, and probably just like watch either of our channels. Like we have tons of videos on that.
I'm a SOC analyst with almost a year of experience. I currently have 3 certifications. I want a new job where I can make almost 100,000. What should I do next?
That's a great question. It's a great question because there isn't like that much information about like pivoting in the field or like moving up and stuff like that. But I don't know what certifications you have, but I'd say like at almost a year of experience, I would hope that you are at least you understand like the basics of your job, right? You can easily like triage stuff, close out tickets with the right information in them and everything. So I think at this stage you really want to get more into like what skills are gonna like take it to the next level, right? So you might want to start focusing on learning like maybe a little bit more of forensic stuff, right, or more of malware analysis stuff, or more of like scripting if you want to maybe like get into engineering and stuff like that. So it really depends on like what do you want to do next. So like what are you looking to do next? Do you want to become a senior analyst? Do you want to become an engineer? Do you want to like what exactly are you looking to do next? So based off of that, I would start learning more. I'll start building more skills in that regards, and looking for looking at what I need to learn to get to that next stage. And in terms of like compensation, compensation is usually has some sort of direct correlation with like what skills you're able to bring to the table. So I definitely would like learning your valuable skills, right? For example, like having really strong forensic and malware analysis skills are very valuable. Also having like a stronger understanding of like offensive tactics, especially as a security analyst. Like I would definitely recommend like investing in some like Active Directory security training, because a lot of work as a SOC analyst is protecting Active Directory environments. So understanding Active Directory a lot more in depth, especially from understanding like the different logs and everything like that, and different attacks and how to analyze them. I would definitely invest in learning more about them, because like that's definitely something you have to have as a strong suit. I also invest in like some really strong projects. So like I would work on like some projects that involve me applying the skills I've learned over the last year, and some skills I'm learning, maybe like malware analysis or forensics or scripting or any other thing, depending on what I want to transition into, and then bring all of those things together. And also, in the process of all of these things, I would be networking with people who are in the industry or work at companies I want to go work at, so I can start looking at what are the requirements for the jobs I want to get, for my progression, right? If I network with someone who works at, let's say, Google, and they're like, oh, you have to know a little bit of Python to work as a security analyst at Google, I'll start working on those skills, or I'll just have a general consensus of what is the industry currently looking for. Like take a look at 10, 20, 50 job descriptions in your area for the jobs you want to get, and look at what are the requirements for those jobs, and build those skills, and then use that to start working your transition.
Next question is also, I know, do you want to stop at 9? I know we've been like going, like call it at 9 or. Okay. Do you recommend going to college or boot camps for cybersecurity? And I just have a quick thought, because you mentioned it earlier, because it's really like based on what you can afford. Personally, people always ask me like, which college should I go to? And for me, like, it wasn't really an option. Like, it was the college that was closest to me, so I could live at home and do it that way, because college is expensive. So I think it just also just what is available, what is realistic. Like, don't put yourself in like tons of debt to go to college if that's the case. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that. I don't. If you want to get cybersecurity, I personally don't think you should go into an excessive amount of debt. The only situation where I think like your school matters is if it's like a really prestigious school, and like maybe they offer you an internship, a scholarship. Like I know like schools like RIT have really good security programs. Penn State has a really good security program. UTSC has a good security program. Those schools that are like center of excellence schools for NSA have really good programs. So if it's one of those schools and you have like a full scholarship or partial scholarship, then I wouldn't discourage you from going. But I still wouldn't recommend like going into an excessive amount of debt for college. And now WGU is also a center for excellence. So definitely recommend WGU if you want to go, because it's a lot more affordable. It's very practical. You get certifications along the way, and you get to meet a lot of really cool people who are in like the WGU school. So definitely recommend WGU if you want to go the college route. If you have scholarships and you can afford to go to any of those other prestigious schools, then you can definitely go there. But if you're going the college route, I'll definitely really do a lot of research about the college I want to go to, just to make sure that it has a really good program and I'm going to be learning what I need to get into the industry. For boot camps, I definitely would be. I'm not against boot camps. I just think doing your research on them is very important. So look at the boot camps, look at the graduates. Like, are they able to get jobs from these boot camps? Like, are they able to work in the industry? Like, what is the price and model for the boot camps? Is it the one where you have to like, pay back money when you start getting a job, or like make sure you really understand the terms and conditions for the boot camps, so you don't, it's not like a rug pull when you eventually get that, when you eventually finish the boot camp. So definitely doing your research on those boot camps is going to be really important. I think I should do a video comparing different boot camps, but
Yeah, that'd be
I
good.
would, yeah, that definitely be a good one. But I can't recommend one over the other. I just think it depends on your circumstance, because either of them could be good routes to get into cybersecurity.
And with the boot camps, I'm just using CodeUp as an example because I don't know if they're like really big in Texas, but I see their signs everywhere in San Antonio. They give you your money back if you don't get a job within 6 months. So I don't know like if it's like a scammy thing that they do, but I would definitely look into it because I know some boot camps will actually like give you your money back if you are unable to get a job.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a Discord or Telegram group? You have a Discord, right?
Yes, I do. I will. There's a link to it in the description, but I'll drop a link to it in the chat. Definitely
And
join
I
the
plan
Discord.
on making one. I've been using Discord so much more lately. I'm finally coming around.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are the best books you read before in cybersecurity and programming?
The only book I read when I was getting cybersecurity was the Security Plus book. It was
That like 501s.
the Get Certified Get Ahead by Daryl. Is it? It's Daryl Gibson. Yeah, I forgot his name, but yeah, I read that book. That was like the book that my a security engineer in my internship gave me on the first day. It was like, hey, I'm gifting you this book. You study for the Security Plus, you're gonna understand your internship a lot better. And I was like, all right, cool. And I read the book cover to cover. That was the only book. That was the first book, not the only book. Ever since then, I've been reading.
You've been reading a lot.
Yeah, I've read like 10 books. I read like 11. No, I read like 12 books this year. But they're a mix of like security books and just self-development books. But I would do a video on like books. I'm reading books I've read in relation to security. But I honestly can't recommend any books to you. I probably have some, but I don't know them off the top of my head. So I just spend a lot of time just like training and doing CTFs and like certifications. So, but there are definitely valuable books out there.
This kind of goes more into tech ethics just because of the work, again, that I do with Cyber Collective. Targeted is a really interesting book that just like related to cybersecurity, just for fun. Target is a really cool book. It was the whistleblower from Cambridge Analytica. And Algorithms of Oppression is another really, really good book. I think it's like really important. Anybody in tech also thinks about like how a tech is impacting those who are using it and that it's being created by a diverse group of people. So if you are interested at all in like any of the tech ethics side, Algorithms of Oppression and Targeted are really, really good books.
Definitely
more fun reads. Yeah, I think you'd like them. Definitely Algorithms of Oppression. Cyber Collective actually did a whole call with Sophia Noble, who is the professor at UCLA. I forget the name of her organization, but she's like in the Netflix documentary about, I'd have to look up exactly which one, but really, really cool person. Any tips for getting a remote pen testing job as a non-US citizen? I do not have any tips.
Yeah, I don't really know much about if you're a permanent resident, then there's a possibility it might be a little bit harder just because of the sensitivity of the job, but I don't think it's impossible if you're a permanent resident. If you're not a permanent resident, you're not a citizen, then it might be a lot harder, because if you're doing security tests against like US security infrastructure, it might be harder. But I know like because I know like a little security companies their outsource like their security things to like companies outsource their security work to like places like India or like Malaysia, other places like that. So there might be a possibility if you're doing like contracting work for those companies, but yeah, I'll definitely like maybe just take a look around and look at the requirements for the jobs. But if you're a permanent resident, then it might not be as difficult.
Do you have any recommendations when it comes to learning certs fast? You ran through those courses today, so
um, I mean, the number one recommendation is like my number one recommendation would be like cut out all distractions. Like it's much easier to concentrate on studying certain things if you don't have any distractions. So like I delete my social media all the time, or like yeah. So like just the number one distraction I know for most people is usually social media. So like definitely like just cutting out social media, and just spending a lot of time studying, and also using like methods like the Pomodoro technique. I use a Pomodoro technique because like sometimes my attention could be a little wishy-washy, so I just spend like an hour studying, take a 10 or 15 minute break, run another hour studying, or an hour 30 minutes, or 45 minutes or 30 minutes. Like I break the studying into chunks, and whenever I'm studying, like I'm not distracted. So there's a lot you can get done in an hour or in 30 minutes if you're solely focused on that specific task. I think of like running like 1 hour of like focus studying just 4 times, right? Just 4 hours of like focus studying where you're not like distracted by anything. There's nobody like disturbing you. Like you can get so much done. You can get so much reading done. You can get so much studying done. You can get so many labs done. Like the key point is just like focusing on studying when you're studying and cutting out all the distractions. And also because learning stuff or learning things for starts, it's also about assimilating the information and also understanding the information. So making like mental models or like really good notes is also going to be good. So you can assimilate the information and learn stuff faster. So that'd be my recommendations. But I wouldn't over prioritize learning and passing the certification fast if you're not actually assimilating and understanding the information.
Yeah, I know a lot of the courses I take, the biggest thing they say is like only learn one thing at once so that you're not like you're going to miss out on the information otherwise. There's kind of no way around it. You're not going to get it all if you're doing too many things at once.
Yep.
What is the first thing to learn before getting into cybersecurity? I personally don't really think that there's like tons of prerequisites. I say just like dive in with the basics and get started, like the Security Plus, right? Or A plus even.
Yeah,
Get
I
the
think like
basics done.
yeah, like the basics, the fundamental stuff is like your networking stuff, your Linux stuff. Like the most fundamental thing I think is like maybe a prerequisite is like the networking aspect of it. Like just really understanding like how networks work, how different systems work
Yeah.
is gonna be really, really valuable for you. Like and you don't have to get any certifications for them. You can learn those things like by reading a book or maybe just taking the Network Plus course or any like good networking course you can find on Udemy or even on YouTube, right? Just learning those core networking fundamentals and Linux fundamentals, I think, are gonna be very helpful regardless of whatever you eventually get to doing in cybersecurity.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. My class was called Introduction to Telecommunications, and I just looked that up, and I don't know if like that's like what I want to call it. But I had a class that was literally just like went through each and every protocol, and we learned about everything. Even if you never see it again, you just reviewing all these topics of like what is possible, and
Yep.
yeah. It is a security question, but is the cloud practitioner worth it, or should one skip to solutions architect for someone looking to transition into the cloud?
I think it all depends on like, what kind of person you are. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but if you're a completionist, I'll definitely recommend taking it. There's it's definitely good. Or if you're someone who like just likes to start from like the ground all the way up, I definitely recommend taking it. But like you don't necessarily have to like. It's not. You can skip it. That's what I'm trying to say. You can skip it because the solutions architect already covers everything in a cloud practitioner. So I'd say you can skip it and just go for the solutions architect. But if you want to do stuff from the ground up, you can definitely start with it with a Cloud Practitioner.
And I'm just seeing this comment right now. It says Professor Messer has good videos on CompTIA if you want to learn about A+, Network+, and Security+. So again, if you want to just learn about it without like fully committing to a course, even just taking in all of the resources is great.
Yeah, and it's on YouTube all for free. So
For free.
he was one of the number one resources I used when I was studying for those certifications. Very good content, great teacher. It might get a little boring sometimes, but definitely valuable content.
What is your favorite Linux distribution?
I don't specifically have one.
Yeah, I don't think I have one. How often do you use OSINT? OSINT? Okay, I was going to say there's a way to say that.
Yeah. It's open source intelligence. It's just basically like finding information about people and stuff like that. I don't use it as much because I don't work in a. Actually, I do use it a lot. And this might seem a little creepy, but like working in cybersecurity, like I like search up everybody that I know or I meet because like I just have that like natural instinct to do it. Like I mean, you there's a lot of information you can find about people like just Googling them. So like I just Google them. I look them up on Twitter. I look them up on Instagram. Like I there's a lot of information you can find about people. I even find like their YouTube videos from like 7 years ago. And it's like I know it sounds a little creepy, but like there's a ton of information that you can find about people. Sometimes I would go as far as doing a reverse image search of the person, just to see like what Google results come for them, because it's especially someone I've never met before. I just want to know as much as I can about the person before going into an interaction with them. And I know it might sound really creepy, but I just have that natural instinct, and I don't use the information for harm, but I use OSINT a lot, but not for my job or anything like that.
Somebody called you Mr. Day Robot, which is really funny.
Yeah.
How important is it to have a LinkedIn profile? It is super important. I think everybody should go get a headshot and set up that LinkedIn profile and get the headshot. Don't like if you know somebody with a camera, ask them to like take that one pic. But if you even your phone, it's better to have one than to use like a random picture of you like on a boat, like holding up a fish, like or something. Like don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, 100%. I think we were talking about networking earlier on. LinkedIn is a really great place to network. A great place to share your experience and what you're working on and stuff like that. So definitely LinkedIn. Definitely get a LinkedIn profile.
Do you use apps to be more productive like Notion? I got my CCNA last week, hoping to go for AWS Practitioner. And hoping to go for AWS Practitioner is sound good for US beginner. Sorry, sentence. But I use Notion. I use Notion for everything. Day, I've seen your Notion. I've seen you share that. Notion keeps my life together. Like, yeah.
Literally, yeah. Notion is literally my second brain. Like, it has everything else that my brain cannot hold. So, yeah.
And there's templates that you can get. And I feel like you don't really have to buy them. You could probably figure out how to make them. Like, if you just play around with it a little bit.
They have their own like stock template, so you can just like manipulate to like make it to whatever you want to. Yeah, like yeah. Don't pay for templates.
Don't pay for it. Yeah, don't pay for it.
I think we should just round it up here.
Call it here.
Yeah. We've answered like a ton of questions, and
it's been pretty 2 hours.
I think this has definitely been really, really valuable. Like just having this conversation and like answering all these questions. It's definitely been fun, and it's definitely great to like finally have you on the channel, and also the very first person on my channel. Like I've never had anyone on my channel ever, so you're the very first
I'm honored.
Person. Yeah, that's definitely really great. I appreciate you hopping on and like answering the questions, sharing your experience and all of that. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And thank you guys for coming in and asking your questions and just hanging out. It was great having you all here. I'll probably be doing a lot more lives, bring on more people, and maybe have Rebecca come in another time again, and hang out again. But yeah, thanks once again for coming in. Thank you guys for asking all the questions. You can continue asking questions like in the comments or like in the Discord and everything. But we're going to end the live now, and y'all have a good night. Do you have any final thing you want to say, Rebecca?
Oh, no, that's all. Thank you all
Uh,
for everything too.
all right, cool. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night. See ya.